The lights inside the grand festival hall shone in colors that human eyes had never seen before humanity left Earth. Park Ji-won stood near the center of the massive room, watching as creatures from 47 different worlds moved together in something that might have been dancing. Some floated, some crawled, some moved in ways that made her head hurt if she watched too long. Ji-won wore the formal blue uniform of Earth's diplomatic corps. The fabric felt stiff against her skin, but she kept her smile warm and genuine. Next to her stood Choi Dae-hyun, his military dress uniform covered in medals that most aliens didn't understand. On her other side, Kim Nari adjusted her glasses and watched everything with the curious eyes of a scientist who still couldn't believe aliens were real. "This is incredible," Nari whispered, leaning close to Ji-won. 10 years ago, half these species wouldn't even enter the same room together. Ji-won nodded. She had read the reports. The galaxy had been a violent place before the peace accords. Species fought over resources, territory, and old grudges that went back centuries. Border wars happened every few months. Trade routes needed military escorts. Fear ruled the stars. Then something changed. The attack stopped. The mysterious force that had terrorized the galaxy for generations simply vanished. In the chaos that followed, the Galactic Council formed. Species that had been enemies started talking. Borders opened. Trade flourished. And then humanity showed up. A creature that looked like a walking pile of blue crystals approached their group. Ji-won recognized Ambassador Kelth of the Velthran people. His species spoke through vibrations that a small translator device turned into words. "Ambassador Park," the translator crackled. "Your people have brought such joy to this celebration. The food from Earth is wonderful." "Thank you, Ambassador Kelth," Ji-won replied with a small bow. "We're honored to share our culture with the Council." "More than culture," Kelth's crystals hummed. "You saved my people. When the pirates attacked our colonies last year, we thought all was lost. But your fleet arrived. Your soldiers fought like demons. You drove them away and asked for nothing in return." Ji-won felt Dae-hyun shift his weight beside her. She knew he didn't like talking about military operations at diplomatic parties. "We believe all peaceful species deserve protection," she said smoothly. "That's what the Council stands for." "Indeed," Kelth agreed. "Your species understands something the rest of us had to learn through pain. Violence should only be used to protect, never to conquer." More aliens approached. A delegation from the Moth people, who looked exactly like their name suggested, came to thank humanity for the medical supplies Earth had sent during their plague outbreak. A Kelton representative, tall and covered in gray fur, presented Ji-won with a data crystal containing their finest poetry, translated into Korean and English. The evening continued with music, food, and speeches. Representatives from different worlds stood on the central platform and shared stories of cooperation and hope. The festival celebrated a decade of peace, but everyone knew the real celebration was about surviving the dark times before. As the speeches ended and the dancing began again, Ji-won found a quiet corner with Dae-hyun and Nari. They watched the crowd together, 3 humans among thousands of aliens who had welcomed them with open arms. "They love us," Nari said softly. "I never expected this. When we first made contact, I thought they might see us as threats or competitors, but they treat us like heroes." Dae-hyun said nothing. He stared at his drink, something purple that an alien bartender had promised was safe for human biology. "What's wrong?" Ji-won asked him. "You've been quiet all evening." "Nothing's wrong," Dae-hyun replied, but his voice lacked conviction. "Just tired." Before Ji-won could press further, a commotion near the central platform drew their attention. Ambassador Realm of the Kelton Council had taken the stage. His species had founded the Council, and his words carried weight across the galaxy. "Friends," Realm's deep voice boomed through the translators, "as we celebrate this joyous occasion, we must remember how we arrived at this peace. We must honor those who suffered and those who saved us." The crowd grew quiet. Even the floating species stopped their movements. 50 years ago, our galaxy lived in terror. We called it the Reaper. Realm's voice dropped lower. It came without warning. It struck without mercy. Entire fleets destroyed in minutes. Military stations reduced to debris. Leaders assassinated in their sleep. And then it would vanish, leaving only death and fear behind. Ji-won felt a chill run down her spine. She had heard stories about the Reaper, but never from someone who had lived through those times. "We didn't know what it wanted," Realm continued. It never communicated, never made demands. It simply killed and disappeared. Every species in this room lost someone to the Reaper. The Velthrin lost billions. The Kelton people lost our entire Fourth Fleet in a single night. The Moth people abandoned 7 colony worlds because the Reaper hunted them so efficiently. The silence in the hall felt heavy. Aliens who had been celebrating moments before now stood still, remembering their dead. And then 50 years ago, the Reaper vanished. Reln's voice rose. We didn't know why. We feared it would return. We built defenses. We formed the council to stand together against it. We waited for the nightmare to begin again. He paused, and G1 saw something like joy spread across his alien features. But it never returned. And do you know why? Reln pointed toward the human delegation. Because they arrived. Humanity entered our galaxy and the Reaper fled. Whether through fear or through fate, the humans drove away our greatest enemy. They may not even know they did it, but they saved us all. The crowd erupted in cheers. Thousands of aliens turned to look at Jiwan, Daehyun, and Nari. Voices from dozens of species called out thanks and praise. Jiwan forced herself to smile and wave. She felt Nari grab her arm in excitement. But she also felt Daehyun go completely rigid beside her. She glanced at him and saw something in his eyes that terrified her. Not confusion. Not surprise, guilt. As Ambassador Reln continued his speech, praising humanity's courage and strength, Jiwan's mind raced. The timeline matched. Humanity had achieved faster than light travel 50 years ago. They had spent decades exploring nearby space before making official first contact with the Council. The Reaper had vanished 50 years ago. Exactly. When humanity entered the galaxy, Jiwan looked at Daehyun again. He met her eyes for just a moment, and in that moment she saw the truth. Her stomach turned to ice. The celebration continued around them. Aliens danced and sang, grateful for the humans who had saved them from the Reaper. They toasted to friendship and peace. They promised eternal gratitude to the species that had driven away their nightmare. And Park Ji-won stood frozen, understanding with horrible certainty that something was very, very wrong. The galaxy loved humanity for saving them from the Reaper. But what if humanity hadn't saved them? What if humanity was the Reaper? The Kelton Historical Repository sat at the edge of the space station, far from the celebration halls. Kang Soo-jin walked through the quiet corridors with a data pad clutched against her chest. The young historian had spent the last 3 months working here, helping to translate ancient records into languages that humans could understand. Ambassador Lee Min-ho walked beside her, his footsteps echoing in the empty hallway. He had arranged today's special viewing for several important guests. Alien diplomats wanted to see the newly translated Reaper archives. They wanted to understand their dark history better, especially now that they believed they were safe. Are you nervous? Min-ho asked Soo-jin. A little, she admitted. I've never presented to such important people before. You'll do fine. You know these records better than anyone. Just show them what you found. They entered the main archive chamber. It was a circular room with walls made of transparent material. Outside, stars shone in the darkness of space. Inside, holographic displays waited to show humanity's most advanced technology, alongside the Kelton people's ancient records. The guests began to arrive. Ambassador Reln came first, still in good spirits from the festival. Behind him came representatives from 6 other species, all members of the Council's Historical Committee. Park Ji-won entered last, her face serious. She had requested permission to attend, claiming diplomatic interest. Min-ho had agreed without question. Soo-jin stood at the center of the room trying to calm her breathing. When everyone had taken their seats, she activated the first holographic display. Thank you all for coming, she began. For the past 3 months, I've been working with Kelton archivists to translate records from what you call the Age of the Reaper. What we've learned is both fascinating and terrible. The hologram showed a star map of the galaxy from 70 years ago. Red marks indicated attack sites. The Reaper attacks began approximately 87 years ago, Soo-jin explained. The first recorded incident occurred in Velthrin space. A military patrol of 6 ships encountered something. We don't know what. All 6 ships were destroyed in less than 3 minutes. No distress calls were sent. No wreckage was found except for small pieces of hull. Ambassador Relm leaned forward. We always wondered how it moved so fast. Our ships never saw it coming. Soo-jin nodded and changed the display. The attacks followed a pattern. The Reaper always targeted military vessels first, battleships, carriers, patrol craft. It destroyed them with incredible efficiency. Then it would strike at military stations and orbital defenses, but never civilian targets, a Moth delegate observed. Almost never, Sujin corrected. There were 3 incidents where civilian ships were destroyed, but our analysis suggests those were cases of mistaken identity. The civilian vessels were using military-grade engines or had military escort. She brought up combat footage that Kelton ships had managed to record before being destroyed. The quality was poor, but it showed something moving through space at impossible speeds. Weapons fire that should have been too fast to dodge somehow missed their target. Return fire came from unexpected angles with perfect accuracy. The Reaper never communicated, Sujin continued, not once in 37 years of attacks. Every species tried to make contact. You sent messages in every known language. You offered surrender. You tried to negotiate. The Reaper never responded. It simply attacked and vanished. Ji-won watched the footage carefully. Something about it bothered her, but she couldn't identify what. The attacks continued for 37 years, Sujin said. Then 50 years ago they stopped. The last confirmed Reaper incident occurred on the date you now celebrate as Liberation Day. A Kelton military fleet was destroyed near the border of what was then unexplored space. After that, nothing. The Reaper vanished completely. Because humanity arrived, Reln said warmly. The timeline is clear. Yes, Sujin agreed. Humanity achieved faster than light travel 50 years ago. They entered this region of space and the Reaper attacks stopped. The correlation is remarkable. She paused, glancing at her datapad. I've been analyzing the combat footage we have. The Reaper's movements, its tactics, the way it chose targets. I wanted to understand how something could be so efficient at destruction. Sujin brought up a new display. It showed a breakdown of the Reaper's attack patterns, weapon signatures, and tactical choices. Next to it, she displayed data from human military operations. This is where things get interesting, she said. I've been comparing the Reaper's methods to military doctrines from various species. I wanted to see if the Reaper might have been a known species using advanced technology. But the tactics don't match any known military philosophy. So it was truly alien, a Moth delegate said. Something from outside our understanding. Sujin hesitated. I'm not sure. I ran one more comparison. I looked at human military operations from the past 50 years. Specifically your special operations units. She highlighted several points on the display. Look at these movement patterns. The way the Reaper approached targets from unexpected angles. The precise timing of attacks. The focus on eliminating leadership and command structures first. The complete communication silence during operations. Ji-won felt her blood turn cold. These are identical to human special forces doctrine, Sujin said quietly. Not similar, identical. The room went silent. Alien diplomats stared at the display, not understanding the implications. But Ji-won understood. She understood perfectly. What are you suggesting? Reln asked carefully. I'm not suggesting anything, Sujin replied. I'm simply presenting what the data shows. The Reaper fought like humans fight. Used tactics like humans use. Targeted enemies like humans target enemies. That's impossible, a Velthrin delegate said. Humans weren't in this region of space 80 years ago. Your species had barely left your home system. I know, Sujin said. The timeline doesn't make sense unless... She trailed off, unwilling to finish the thought. But Ji-won would finish it for her. She had to. May I speak? Ji-won asked, standing up. Minho looked surprised but nodded. Of course, Ambassador Park. Ji-won walked to the center of the room. Her legs felt weak, but she forced herself to stand straight. I need to see the dates of those attacks again. The locations. Every detail you have, Sujin pulled up the complete archive. Dates, locations, target types, damage reports. Everything the Kelton people had recorded about the Reaper across 37 years of terror. Ji-won studied it carefully. She pulled out her own datapad and began comparing information. The aliens watched her work, confused by her intensity. Finally, Ji-won looked up. Her face had gone pale. I need to return to the human embassy, she said. Right now. What did you find? Reln asked. I need to verify something first. Ambassador Minho, may I request that this information be kept confidential for the next 24 hours? Please, Minho frowned. Ambassador Park, if you know something. 24 hours, Ji-won repeated. Please, I promise you'll have answers. But I need to confirm what I'm thinking before I can say anything. She looked at Sujin. Send me everything you have. All the combat footage, all the tactical analysis, everything. Of course, Sujin replied, though she looked worried. Ji-won left the archive chamber at a near run. Her mind raced through implications and possibilities, each one worse than the last. She pulled out her communication device and called Dae-hyun. I need you at the embassy. Now. Bring every classified file you have access to. Ji-won, what's wrong? Everything, she said. Everything is wrong. Behind her, in the archive chamber, Sujin stared at the holographic displays. The alien delegates began asking questions, wanting to understand what the human ambassador had seen. But Sujin barely heard them. She was looking at one piece of footage in particular, a 3-second clip of the Reaper destroying a Kelton warship. The attack came from above and behind, striking at the engine core with perfect precision. The ship exploded instantly. Sujin had seen that exact maneuver before. In a documentary about human military history, a famous battle from Earth's wars before they reached the stars. The same tactic, the same approach angle, the same target priority. Her hands shook as she saved the file and marked it for urgent review. The galaxy had celebrated today. They had thanked humanity for driving away their nightmare. But what if humanity hadn't driven away the Reaper? What if humanity was the nightmare? The secure conference room in the human embassy was designed to block all signals. No communication could enter or leave. No surveillance could penetrate the walls. What was said here stayed here. Park Ji-won sat at the head of the long table. Around her sat the people she trusted most in the galaxy. Choi Dae-hyun, the military advisor who had served in Earth's defense forces for 20 years. Kim Nari, the scientist who understood technology better than anyone Ji-won knew. Han Tae-jin, the intelligence officer who knew secrets that could start wars. And Kang Soo-jin, the historian who had discovered the impossible truth. On the table between them lay data pads, holographic projectors and classified files that bore the highest security seals of Earth's government. Tell them, Ji-won said to Dae-hyun. Tell them what you told me an hour ago. Dae-hyun looked old. His military bearing had crumbled, and he slouched in his chair like a man carrying an enormous weight. He took a long breath before speaking. 53 years ago, humanity achieved faster-than-light travel, he began. We were excited, terrified, eager to explore. We sent scout ships into nearby space to see what was out there. We know this already, Nari said gently. What you don't know is what those scouts found. Dae-hyun activated a holographic display. It showed a small human ship, barely larger than a modern shuttle. Our scouts encountered alien vessels, ships that moved with technology we didn't understand, ships that could destroy us easily. He pulled up old combat logs. The aliens didn't communicate with us. They just approached. Our scouts panicked. They thought they were under attack. So they ran. But the aliens followed, Tae-jin added quietly. They wanted to make contact. But our scouts didn't know that. They thought they were being hunted, Dae-hyun continued. When the scouts returned to Earth, they reported hostile alien forces. Advanced technology, ships that had chased our people through space. Earth's military command made a decision. He pulled up a classified document. The header read, Operation Reaper, Authorization for Defensive Action. They decided that if aliens were already hunting our scouts, then humanity needed to strike first. Before the aliens could find Earth, before they could destroy us, Ji-won felt sick. She had read these files in the past hour, but hearing Dae-hyun say it out loud made it real in a horrible way. They formed a special unit, Dae-hyun said. The best pilots, the best soldiers, the best tactical minds. They gave them the fastest ships and the deadliest weapons. And they gave them one mission: eliminate any alien military presence before it could threaten Earth. Operation Reaper, Soo-jin whispered. Yes. Dae-hyun looked at her. You were right, Kang Soo-jin. The tactics you found weren't just similar to human doctrine. They were human doctrine, because the Reaper was us. It was always us. Nari stood up suddenly, knocking her chair backward. No, that can't be right. The attacks went on for 37 years. Surely someone tried to communicate. Surely we realized these were just border patrols and merchant escorts. How? Tae-jin asked. The Reaper unit operated in complete isolation. They would enter a system, identify military targets, destroy them, and leave. No communication. No investigation. Just elimination and extraction. By the time Earth's government realized what was happening, it was too late. Dae-hyun said, We had killed millions, destroyed hundreds of ships, created the galaxy's worst nightmare, and we had no idea we were the villains. He pulled up more files. Combat reports from Operation Reaper missions. Ji-won forced herself to read them, though each line made her feel worse. Mission Report 247. Encountered 6 hostile vessels in Sector 89. Engaged and eliminated all targets in 3 minutes. No survivors. Returned to base without contact. Status: Successful Mission Report. TT-teen. Destroyed orbital military platform in Sector 45. Platform had tracking capabilities that could locate Earth. Eliminated facility and 3 escort ships. Status: Successful Mission Report 4111. Intercepted formation of 12 military craft approaching explored space. Eliminated all targets. Command structure identified and neutralized. Status: Successful. They thought they were heroes, Sujin said, tears running down her face. They thought they were protecting Earth. They were, Daehyun replied bitterly. From their perspective, they were stopping an alien invasion before it could begin. They were saving humanity. They couldn't have known the truth. When did Earth's government figure it out? Ji-won asked. 49 years ago, Taejin answered. A Reaper scout captured an alien communication device from destroyed wreckage. They brought it back for analysis. Our scientists finally decoded it. And we heard their messages. He activated an audio file. Static filled the room, then a voice speaking in an alien language. A computer provided translation. Unknown vessel, this is Kelton Border Patrol. We mean no harm. We wish to communicate. Please respond. The message repeated 3 times. Then there was the sound of weapons fire and screaming. Then silence. That was from one of our attacks, Daehyun said quietly. They were trying to talk to us. They were trying to make peaceful contact, and we killed them. The room fell silent. Nari had her hand over her mouth. Sujin was openly crying. Even Taejin, who had seen horrible things in his intelligence work, looked shaken. Earth's government ordered Operation Reaper to cease immediately, Daehyun continued. They recalled all units. They classified everything. Every file, every report, every piece of evidence. They buried it under the highest security seals. And then they sent out diplomatic ships, Ji-won said. Ships that were obviously peaceful. Ships that made proper first contact with the Galactic Council. Yes, the aliens had no idea that the peaceful humans who arrived were the same species that had terrorized them as the Reaper. How could they? We never communicated. We never showed our faces. We just killed and vanished. The timeline matched perfectly, Sujin said. The Reaper stopped exactly when humans made official contact. The Council thought humanity had driven away their nightmare. But really, we just changed our approach. We stopped killing and started talking. Ji-won stood up and paced the room. So for 50 years, humanity has been living a lie. The galaxy loves us. They thank us for saving them. They trust us completely. And the entire time we've known we were the monsters they feared. Not everyone knew, Daehyun corrected. Operation Reaper was classified at the highest level. Maybe 100 people in Earth's government know the truth. Everyone else genuinely believes we're the peaceful explorers we claim to be. Does that make it better? Nari asked angrily. We still did it. Humanity still killed millions of innocent beings. We created the galaxy's worst nightmare. We thought we were under attack, Daehyun said, but his voice lacked conviction. We thought wrong, Nari shot back. And we never even tried to find out the truth. We just killed first and never asked questions. Ji-won stopped pacing. Here's what we know. The Reaper was real. The Reaper killed millions. The Reaper terrorized the galaxy for 37 years. And the Reaper was us. She looked at each person in the room. The question is, what do we do now? We bury it, Taejin said immediately. This information gets out, and humanity becomes the galaxy's enemy. Every species will turn against us. The peace will shatter, war will come, and we'll deserve it. We can't hide this, Sujin argued. I've already shown the tactical analysis to the historical committee. Other people will start making connections. The truth will come out eventually. Then we need to control how it comes out, Ji-won said. We need to present it in a way that shows humanity has genuinely changed. That we're not the Reaper anymore, are we? Nari asked quietly. Are we really different? Or are we just pretending until we get scared again? Nobody had an answer for that. Daehyun pulled up one final file. There's something else you need to know. Operation Reaper was disbanded, but the soldiers from that unit are still alive. Most of them are still in military service. They're scattered across human space, many of them in high-ranking positions. Why does that matter? Sujin asked. Because they still think they were heroes, Daehyun replied. They don't know about the peaceful contact attempts. They don't know the truth about what they did. Earth's government never told them. And if this information goes public, those soldiers will realize they're war criminals. People will demand their prosecution. Their lives will be destroyed. Jiwon closed her eyes. The problem kept getting worse. It wasn't just about humanity's reputation. It was about real people who had done horrible things while genuinely believing they were protecting their species. We have 24 hours, she said. In 24 hours, Ambassador Minho will expect answers. We need to decide how to handle this. Do we confess? Do we try to hide it? Do we prepare for war? I need to think, Nari said. I need to process this. We all do, Jiwon agreed. But we don't have time, so we think fast. The 5 humans sat in their secure room surrounded by evidence of their species' greatest crime. Outside, aliens celebrated the peace that humanity had supposedly brought them. They smiled and laughed and thanked their human friends for saving them from the Reaper. If only they knew the truth. The news broke at dawn. Station time. Park Ji-won was still in the embassy conference room, reviewing possible statements for the 100th time, when Han Taijun burst through the door. His face was white with panic. It's out, he said. Someone leaked it. The whole galaxy knows. Ji-won's stomach dropped. How? An alien journalist intercepted our communications from yesterday. Not the secure channel, but someone on the historical committee contacted their government. The encryption wasn't good enough. The journalist decoded it and published everything an hour ago. Kim Nari activated the news feeds. Every major galactic network carried the same headline, translated into dozens of languages. Humans are the Reaper. The broadcasts showed split screens. On one side, footage of Reaper attacks from decades ago. Ships exploding, stations burning, millions dying. On the other side, human military operations from recent years. The similarities were undeniable. They have everything, Choi Dae-hyun said, scrolling through the leaked files. Combat reports. Tactical analysis. Even some of the classified mission logs. Someone had access to our secure systems. We need to make a statement, Ji-won said, forcing herself to think clearly, before this spirals completely out of control. But it was already spiraling. The Galactic Council called an emergency session within 2 hours. Every species sent their representatives. The chamber that usually held diplomatic discussions now felt like a courtroom. And humanity was on trial. Ji-won stood at the center of the circular room. Behind her sat the other human delegates, including Daehyun and Nari. Around them, hundreds of alien eyes stared with expressions ranging from shock to horror to rage. Ambassador Rellan spoke first. His voice, usually warm and welcoming, was cold. Ambassador Park, is it true? Was humanity responsible for the Reaper attacks? Ji-won had prepared a speech, a careful explanation about misunderstandings and fear in the fog of war. But looking at the faces around her, she knew that careful diplomacy wouldn't work here. These beings had lived through terror. They had lost loved ones. They deserved the truth, not pretty words. Yes, she said simply. It's true, the chamber erupted in noise. Aliens shouted in their various languages. Translators struggled to keep up with the chaos. Security personnel moved to the edges of the room, ready to intervene if the situation became violent. Rellan raised his hand for silence. It took several minutes for the noise to die down. Explain, he demanded, so Ji-won explained. She told them about humanity's first steps into space, about the scouts who encountered alien ships and panicked, about Earth's military command, deciding that a preemptive strike was necessary to protect their species. About Operation Reaper and the soldiers who thought they were heroes defending their home. We didn't know you were trying to communicate, she said. Our scouts saw advanced military vessels and assumed hostile intent. By the time we decoded your languages and realized the truth, it was too late. We had already killed millions. We had already become your nightmare. And you said nothing. The shout came from the Veltran section. Ambassador Kelth stood, his crystal body vibrating with rage. For 50 years you let us believe you were our saviors. You let us thank you. You let us celebrate you. Our government made the decision to classify the information, Ji-won replied. They believed that revealing the truth would start another war. They thought silence was the only way to maintain peace. They were cowards, a Moth delegate said. Your government were cowards who hid their crimes. Jiwan wanted to argue, but she couldn't. They were right. Another delegate stood. This one was from the Kelton Military Command. I want to speak, the alien said. His name was Commander Velric, and his fur was streaked with gray from age. I was there. I fought against the Reaper. I lost my entire squadron to it. The chamber fell silent. I have studied war for 70 years, Velric continued. I know tactics. I know strategy. And I can confirm that the Reaper's methods were identical to human military doctrine. The evidence is clear. But I want to know something else. He turned to look directly at G1. The attacks stopped 50 years ago. Humanity has been peaceful for 50 years. You've helped us, protected us, traded with us, built friendships with us. Was that real? Or was it just another strategy? The question hung in the air. Every alien in the chamber waited for G1's answer. It was real, she said. When our government learned the truth about what Operation Reaper had done, they were horrified. They immediately stopped all military operations. They changed our entire approach to space exploration. They made sure that future contact would be peaceful and transparent. Words, Kelth said. How do we know this isn't just another lie? You don't, Jiwan admitted. We can show you our records. We can show you how our government changed its policies. But at the end of the day, you have to decide whether to trust us. And I understand if you can't trust. A delegate from a species Jiwan didn't recognize stood up. You killed my great-grandfather. He was a merchant escort pilot. Your Reaper unit destroyed his ship because it had military-grade engines. He was protecting trading vessels and you murdered him. More aliens stood, each one sharing their loss. A mother killed in an orbital station attack. A brother who died when his patrol ship was destroyed. A child who never grew up because the Reaper eliminated her colony's defensive satellites and pirates attacked. The stories went on for hours. Each one was a reminder of the horror that Operation Reaper had caused. Each one was a life destroyed by human fear and human violence. G1 listened to all of them. She didn't interrupt. She didn't make excuses. She just listened and felt the weight of her species' crime pressed down on her shoulders. Finally, Admiral Yoon Hyejin was called to testify. She was the highest-ranking military officer in human space, and she had been part of the decision to classify Operation Reaper's activities. Show them the footage, Reln demanded. Show them what your soldiers did. Hyejin nodded. She activated a holographic display in the center of the chamber. The footage showed human pilots in their ships celebrating after a successful mission. Target eliminated. One pilot shouted, joy clear in his voice. That's 20 confirmed kills for me. Nice shooting, another replied. Did you see that station blow? Perfect hit on the reactor core. Earth will be safe because of us, a third pilot said. We're heroes. The footage cut to another mission. Human soldiers moved through a damaged alien facility, checking for survivors. When they found an injured alien soldier, they shot him without hesitation. Can't leave witnesses, one human said. Command's orders. The chamber was silent. The footage showed exactly what the galaxy needed to see. Not just that humans had killed them, but that humans had enjoyed it, had celebrated it, had thought themselves heroes while committing atrocities. These are your heroes, Reln said quietly. These are the humans who saved you from the Reaper. Because they were the Reaper, Hyejin bowed her head. I take full responsibility for the decision to classify this information. I believed it was the only way to preserve peace. I was wrong. And the soldiers? Velric asked. The ones in that footage? Are they still in your military? Many of them are, Hyejin admitted. They believed they were protecting Earth. They didn't know they were committing war crimes. When we learned the truth, we couldn't tell them without revealing Operation Reaper to everyone. So they still think they're heroes, Kelth said. They still celebrate the aliens they murdered. No, a new voice spoke up. It was Bae Yuna, a military ethics officer who had been quiet until now. They don't know the truth, but that doesn't excuse what they did. We should have tried to communicate. We should have investigated before attacking. We should have done 1,000 things differently. But we chose violence first. And that choice defines us. She looked around the chamber. You want to know if humanity has changed? I can't answer that. Change isn't something you can prove with words or policies. Change is something you demonstrate through actions over time. And maybe 50 years isn't enough time. Maybe 1,000 years wouldn't be enough. Then what do you suggest? Reln asked. I suggest you decide. Una replied. Humanity has laid the truth before you. We've confessed our crime. We've shown you our shame. Now you must decide what comes next. Do you exile us? Do you attack us? Do you give us a chance to earn redemption? That's your choice to make. The chamber fell into heated debate. Some species called for humanity's immediate expulsion from the council. Others demanded reparations. A few even suggested preemptive military action against human colonies, striking before humanity could become the Reaper again. Jiwan watched it all with a sinking feeling. The peace they had built over 50 years was crumbling. The friendships they had made were turning to ash. The trust they had earned was revealed as a foundation built on lies, and the worst part was knowing that humanity deserved all of it. Commander Velric finally stood again. I propose a vote, he said. Should humanity remain in the Galactic Council, or should they be expelled and isolated? And if they're expelled? Someone asked. What happens then? Then we prepare for war, Velric said grimly, because a species that could be the Reaper once could become the Reaper again. And this time we'll be ready. The vote was called. Jiwan held her breath as the numbers appeared on the holographic display. The galaxy was about to decide humanity's fate. The vote was deadlocked. 23 species voted to expel humanity from the Galactic Council. 23 voted to give them another chance. One species abstained, unable to decide. We will reconvene in 3 days, Ambassador Rellan announced. Each delegation will consult with their home governments. This decision is too important to rush. Park Jiwan returned to the human embassy feeling numb. The galaxy was splitting over what to do about humanity, and whatever they decided, nothing would ever be the same. She was reviewing emergency evacuation plans for human diplomats when her communication device buzzed. A message from an unexpected source. Oh, Minje, governor of one of Earth's oldest colonies, I saw the news. His message said, I have information that might help. Please contact me. Jiwan called him immediately. Minje's face appeared on the screen. He was older than her, with gray hair and tired eyes that had seen too much. Governor Minje, what information do you have? I was part of Operation Reaper, he said simply. Jiwan's breath caught. You were one of the soldiers? Yes, I flew 18 missions. Destroyed 4 alien ships and 1 orbital station. They gave me medals, called me a hero. His voice was hollow. I didn't learn the truth until 15 years ago. An intelligence leak reached some of us veterans. When I found out what we had really done, I left the military and requested assignment to the most remote colony I could find. Why are you telling me this? Because I kept records, Minje said. Detailed logs of how Operation Reaper changed after the first few years. How we started questioning our orders. How we tried to find alternatives to killing. The official records show us as monsters who enjoyed violence. But that's not the whole story. He sent her files. Jiwan opened them and began reading. They were personal logs from Operation Reaper soldiers. The entries started confident and aggressive, full of determination to protect Earth. But as the missions continued, the tone changed. Mission 67, Pilot O. Minje. Destroyed another ship today. Command says they were hostile, but I didn't see any weapons fire. They just tried to run. Makes me wonder if we're doing the right thing. Mission 134. Pilot O. Minje. Some of the new recruits are enjoying this too much. They talk about kill counts like it's a game. I tried to tell them these might be real people with families, but Command shut me down. Said we can't afford doubt. Mission 198. Pilot O. Minje. We captured a device from wreckage today. It was making sounds, almost like someone trying to talk. Command took it away and told us to forget about it. But I can't forget. What if they were trying to communicate? We weren't all monsters, Minje said quietly. Some of us had doubts. Some of us tried to raise concerns. But the military structure didn't allow for that kind of questioning. We were told that doubt meant weakness, that Earth's survival depended on our absolute commitment. This doesn't excuse what you did, Jiwan said. I know. Nothing excuses it. But it shows that we were capable of change, that we did change even before the operation ended. And when it did end, when we returned to civilian life, we made sure to never repeat those mistakes. He pulled up another file. This is a report from my colony. 20 years of peaceful coexistence with the Kelton people who settled nearby. We've had disagreements, resource disputes, cultural misunderstandings. But we never once resorted to violence. We always talked it out. We always found peaceful solutions. Because you learned from your mistakes, Jiwon said. Because we refused to be the Reaper ever again, Minjae corrected. Every human colony has veterans from Operation Reaper. We're scattered across human space, and all of us made the same choice. We changed. We became better. We had to. Jiwon saw the possibility in his words. Would you be willing to testify at the council? Yes, and I can bring others. Veterans who are ready to tell their stories, to show how humanity transformed itself. It might not be enough, Jiwon warned. The damage we did was enormous. Our crimes were unforgivable. I know, Minjae said, but we have to try. The next day, news broke that changed everything again. A radical faction from 3 different species had formed a coalition. They called themselves the Liberation Front. Their goal was simple: eliminate humanity before humanity could become the Reaper again. Their first target was a small human colony on the edge of explored space. The colony had 200 residents, mostly families and researchers. No military presence, no weapons beyond basic security. The Liberation Front attacked at night colony time. They came with 3 warships and demanded the humans surrender for trial as war criminals. Governor Minjae was on that colony. Choi Dae-hyun received the distress call in the human embassy. His face went white as he read the report. They're going to kill everyone, he said. The Liberation Front isn't interested in trials. They want revenge. Send ships, Kim Nari demanded. Send the fleet. Protect those people. The nearest military ships are 6 hours away, Han Taijun reported. The colony has maybe 30 minutes before the Liberation Front's ultimatum expires. Jiwon felt her world narrow to a single point. This was it. This was the moment that would define humanity's future. How they responded to this attack would show the galaxy who they really were. I need to speak with Dae-hyun, she said. Alone. They went to a private room. Jiwon looked at the man who had carried the weight of Operation Reaper's secrets for so long. You know what the Reaper would do, she said. You know how to respond with overwhelming force. How to eliminate threats quickly and efficiently. That's your training. Yes, Dae-hyun admitted. And you know that if we unleash that power now, we prove the Liberation Front right. We prove that humanity is still the monster they fear. Yes. But if we don't respond, those colonists die. 200 innocent people, including children. Dae-hyun closed his eyes. I know. What do we do? He was silent for a long moment. Then he opened his eyes and Jiwon saw something new in them. Not the guilt he had carried. Not the shame. Something like determination. We respond, he said. But not like the Reaper. We respond like the humans we're trying to become. He contacted the nearest ships. Not warships, but fast courier vessels with defensive capabilities. He gave them specific orders: get to the colony. Position yourselves between the Liberation Front and the civilians. Make it clear you will defend those people. But do not fire first. Do not escalate. Take whatever hits you must, but do not become the aggressors. Sir, one pilot protested. Those courier ships can't take much damage. We'll lose people. I know, Dae-hyun said. But that's the cost of change. That's what it means to not be the Reaper anymore. The courier ships arrived at the colony with 12 minutes to spare. They positioned themselves as Dae-hyun had ordered, creating a shield between the Liberation Front and the colonists below. The Liberation Front opened fire immediately. The battle was broadcast across the galaxy. Every species watched as Liberation Front warships unleashed weapons on the small human courier vessels. The humans' shields held for the first few strikes, then began to fail, and the humans didn't fire back. Return fire, the Liberation Front commander shouted, confused. Why aren't they fighting? On the lead courier ship, the captain held steady even as his vessel took hit after hit. Because we're not the Reaper, she said quietly. Then louder, broadcasting to the Liberation Front. We will not attack you. We will defend these innocent people, but we will not be the first to kill. We've learned from our mistakes. The courier ship's shields failed. The next shot tore through the hull. 17 crew members died instantly. Still, the humans didn't return fire. Commander Velric was watching from the Galactic Council chambers. He had fought against the Reaper decades ago. He knew what human weapons could do. He knew these courier ships, though small, had enough firepower to cripple at least one of the Liberation Front warships, but they weren't using it. They're really not going to fight back. Kang Sujin whispered, watching the broadcast with tears streaming down her face. They're choosing to die rather than kill, Ambassador Reln said, his voice full of wonder and horror. The second courier ship was destroyed, 43 people dead. The third ship's shields were failing, but behind them on the colony, Governor Minjae was organizing evacuations. Using the time the courier ships bought them, the colonists were getting to shelter. Children first, then the elderly, then everyone else. The Liberation Front commander finally stopped firing. He stared at the remaining damaged courier ships, at the debris from the destroyed vessels, at the humans who refused to fight back. "This is impossible," he said. "The Reaper would never—" "We're not the Reaper," the courier captain repeated. Blood ran down her face from where an explosion had thrown her against her console. Not anymore. The attack stopped. The Liberation Front ships withdrew, their commander too shaken to continue. His species had lost billions to the Reaper. He had been ready to commit genocide in revenge, but he couldn't kill people who refused to fight back, who chose to die rather than become monsters again. In the Galactic Council chambers, the emergency session was reconvened. The vote that had been deadlocked was called again. This time, 38 species voted to allow humanity to remain in the Council. 7 voted for expulsion, 2 abstained. Humanity will remain, Reln announced, but with conditions. Permanent observers will be stationed on human worlds, full transparency of military operations,